Good morning. Welcome to episode 5 of the Genuine Glow Up with Tyffanee Chaunte. If you don't know, my name is Tyffanee Chaunte, and today's glow topic of the day is 4 Black women in history who has set the bar in beauty. I'm so very excited to get into this topic. Especially because I am a black woman in beauty, and like just putting together this episode was super duper inspiring for me, and I just was super excited to share it with you guys, especially as we transition from Black History Month into Women's History Month. By the time this episode airs, it'll be like February 20th. So we have one more week left of Black History Month. So I know all of these episodes have been, we've been talking about love and so many other things because February is such a heavy month. It's such a short month, but it's such a heavy month. So I want to just kind of make sure I touched on a little bit of everything. But before we get into the glow topic of the day, I like to set some positive vibes. So I want to start with the affirmation of the week. So the affirmation of the week, repeat after me. I am who I want to be. I am who I want to be. That is the affirmation of the week. So if you receive that affirmation, drop a comment below saying, I am who I want to be. We talked about this a little bit in episode 1, but I'll just touch on it briefly. If you haven't watched episode 1 already, I suggest you go and catch up because we've been having a good old time on the Genuine Glow Up so far. And the topics have been pretty spot on, so I definitely highly recommend you go check out episode 1, which is about goal setting, and we did touch on this affirmation a little bit. Sometimes in order to become who you want to be in life, you have to start to embody that person and believe you already are that person. So let's say your goal was to be like a personal trainer with like a high clientele. I don't even know why I said personal trainer, but let's just say that was your goal, right? And you would have to start, I think, by asking yourself and doing the research, like, what do personal trainers do? Where do they hang out? How do they find their clientele? What do they wear? What do they eat? Where are their where's the high clientele at? Like, where do I need to be in order to attract those type of clients? As you start to gather this information, you have to become this information. Like, you gathering it and you start to embody it, like start to go to those places, start to eat those things, start to literally embody all that information. And that goes for everything, whether you want to be like an entrepreneur, a married woman, if you want to be a partner at your job, same principle. What do these partners do? Study the people who've done it before you and figure out their blueprint and do it too. Become that person. So you may even have to be a little, I hate the word delusional. Like, I don't like to use it like that because that's not how I mean it. But in essence, you kind of have to become a little delusional until you start to believe it. It's not that you're lying, but you're manifesting and you're undoing like those limited beliefs. Sometimes like we can start to take on beliefs that aren't necessarily our own. It can come from like how we were raised, or someone kind of misinterpreting religion or anything and kind of instilling that in you. And next thing you know, you have a whole bunch of limiting beliefs that you haven't really figured out are not your own beliefs, So I think once you start to kind of embody like those things that you need to embody to become that person, you start to shed like those limiting beliefs saying, I can't be rich, I can't be a personal trainer. We'll stick with that example. I can't. No, babe, you can, trust me, you can. You just have to believe it first. You have to become that person first. I promise you. So if you receive that affirmation, I want you to drop a comment below. I am who I want to be. Okay, moving on So the self-care encouragement question of the week is, what if I suddenly forgave myself for all the mistakes and missteps in life? So I remember, like, when I was a kid, every time, like, I would make a mistake or something like that, I'd say, I'm sorry. And my dad always says, anyone who knows my dad is going to crack up because y'all know that I do a good impersonation of him. You're not sorry. You're not sorry. You're not sorry. Say I apologize, but you're not sorry. So I would always say I'm sorry, and that's pretty much what my dad would say. And it's funny looking back, but he was so totally right. I'm not sorry. And if you look up like what one of the definitions of the word sorry means, it literally means like you're in a poor or in a pitiful state or condition. So he would always prompt me to say I apologize instead of I'm sorry. I have no problems owning my mistakes and apologizing when warranted, but just because I made a mistake doesn't mean that I'm poor or I'm in pitiful state or condition. I'm not a victim, I'm victorious. So he's absolutely right about that. I'm not sorry. I apologize, but I'm not sorry. To be honest, though, going back to the question was, what if I suddenly forgave myself for all the mistakes and missteps in life? And to be honest with you, I already have. And when I did, my life started to change. Because I kind of started looking at it like, I don't think anything in life is really necessarily a mistake. Even if you didn't intend for it to happen that way, there's always something good that can come from the situation, whether it's a lesson or something. Everywhere in life where I may have fell short in my eyes at the time, like when I look back at it in hindsight, I really realized that it was truly for a reason. By me forgiving myself, I freed myself from guilt and shame that others kept trying to use to keep me in bondage. I really feel like guilt and shame has such a shackling, locked up kind of feel to it. And the moment you begin to like really just forgive yourself for certain things, you free yourself from that trap. And that's the beginning step. It kind of goes hand in hand with our affirmation of the week, becoming that person that you want to be. I think in order to become that person, you have to really free yourself from guilt and shame. Forgiving yourself is the most liberating thing you can do because you're no longer bound. You don't hold yourself to other people's standards. You are your own person and you begin to raise your vibration by doing so. And then you set the bar for how you treat yourself and how others should treat yourself. Then you start to become more worthy. You start to see your worth, and then others start to see it too. We always fall short, but we're also human. So be kind to yourself and show grace and mercy. If you feel comfortable, I definitely would like for you to drop a comment below to the answer to this next question that I'm about to ask. Have you forgiven yourself for things that you may have deemed as a mistake or a misstep? Drop a comment below. Have you forgiven yourself? Yes or no? Moving on. So, the glow topic of the week is 4 Black women in history who have set the bar in the beauty industry. And I'm so excited. So, I think that everyone knows what number 1 is. Because even like when I was telling my mom what the glow topic of the week was, she's like, let me guess. And she guessed what number 1 was. But, okay, let me just get into it. So number 1 is Madam C.J. Walker, aka Sarah Breedlove. She was the first self-made millionaire in history. The first self-made millionaire in history. How dope is that? Like, let's just take a step back and really think about how freaking cool is that? A Black beauty boss was the first self-made millionaire in history. And she was the first person from her family that was born out of slavery. So all of the family members prior to her were slaves. They were not free to do these things. And she was the first one that was not born, you know, from slavery, like the first free Black person in her family. And she was also the first self-made millionaire in history. Very, very cool. Very inspiring too. Very, very freaking empowering. She was a philanthropist, an activist, and an entrepreneur, but she was most known for her wealth and her contributions in the beauty industry. And she also was known for creating job opportunities for thousands of other Black women. So, like, you see how, like, Mary Kay trains, people to pretty much, like, sell the products, and, it's like that chain. Madam C.J. Walker was the first to do that. She was the original Mary Kay. And I think that's so freaking cool. She created Black hair care products specifically for Black women. And she was also known for her strategies. Like, she would study how, like, in the Jenny Craig ads, they would do like before and after photos. She was the first person to actually kind of bring that kind of marketing strategy into the beauty industry and start showing like transformation photos, which is so cool, especially like for people like me who are estheticians, makeup artists. Like, those before and afters literally can make or break your bank account. Once people see it, that literally can be how you get your next client, and to think that she was the person who like brought that kind of aspect of marketing into the beauty industry, and that like chain of command, like marketing, is super duper cool. So the next person is Christina Jenkins, aka Christina May Thomas. She was the woman who invented the sew-in weaves. So if it wasn't for Miss Christina, your girl's hair wouldn't be this lead. So thank you so much, because Lord, I live for a sewing. But anywho, she invented the sew-in weaves in 1951. And just like Madam C.J. Walker, she started like a school teaching her methods of corn rolling and sewing in synthetic hair, based off her techniques. So before that, people were still wearing like extensions, but they were installing the extensions with like bobby pins or like, hairpins sticking it in. So she was the first to kind of introduce like a more permanent aspect of weave. So thank you, girl, because you saved us so much time in the morning. I couldn't imagine having to sit there and pinning my tracks every morning. I barely got time to do my makeup. The third woman is Eunice Johnson, and she started her contributions. I really, let me just take a step back. Eunice Johnson was another one that resonated really well with me, because her story was so similar to how I kind of got started in beauty also. But we'll talk about Miss Eunice for now. But she started her contributions in the fashion industry, organizing an annual event called the Ebony Traveling Fashion Fair. And it was for Black Americans. It was a fashion show, basically. And as time went on, she would work these events, organize. She was the one that organized the events. And as she would organize these events, she noticed like that once the makeup artist would come, there wasn't much like there pretty much was like a lack of products for Black women. Like, we didn't have foundations that match all of our beautiful brown and Black skin tones, and it really was like super duper obvious. So because of that, it inspired her to create her own line of cosmetics in the early 70s, and she worked on a brand alongside her husband. And then she launched her brand called Fashion Fair Cosmetics, which now to this day has and had at the time, but still, over 180 products, and was carried in over 2,000 retail outlets worldwide. To this day, that brand is one of the largest Black-owned beauty brands in the industry. And she's even been credited by Ebony magazine for inspiring the name because, you know, her events were called the Ebony Traveling Fashion Fair. So, and the reason why I love that one too was because when I first, before I even got started, before there was a Grenized Beauty, or before I even considered myself a makeup artist, I at the time was going to school in the city for fashion. And I had a whole bunch of different types of friends that were fashion designers, fashion stylists. You know, at one point in time, so was I. Before I got into this industry, I was definitely into fashion. I did design, I did visual merchandising, I did visual design and fashion merchandising. Those were my three things. And I dabbled a little bit into styling. So as I was doing that, people would just like kind of see that how I did my own makeup and would ask me to do makeup for like their fashion shows or on set. And that's pretty much how I got started, and literally how my brand got started, through working in fashion first. So I really resonated with Miss Eunice. And the last one is Iman Abdul Majid, aka Zara Muhammad Abdul Majid. She was a fashion model, actress, and pioneer in the Black cosmetics industry. Like we talked about with Miss Eunice, Blacks were very underrepresented in cosmetics. Like, we did not have what we needed. And I also can resonate with this because I have also modeled. But when you model, if your pictures don't look good, you don't get called back. Like, you don't get jobs if you don't look good in your photos. So to leave that kind of fate in the hands of her makeup artist was super duper scary, because she knew that they didn't have the shades that she needed to be at her best. So what she would do was mix her own, like customize her own formulation of her foundation for her makeup artist to use on her, so that she could look her best. She challenged what mainstream beauty should look like, and she helped to bring on more Black models and diversity to the forefront of the modeling industry also. And in '94, she launched her own cosmetics line called Iman Cosmetics because of that whole situation. So I only covered 4 because I didn't want to make this video too long, but there's so many women and the list goes on. Maybe since we do have one more Monday left before Black History is over, maybe I'll do a part 2 and I'll talk about 4 more women. That's actually a really good idea. I might do that. Let's just see. So you guys let me know if that's what you guys want me to do, and I'll make a part 2, and we'll shine light on 4 more beautiful Black queens that paved the way for us in the aesthetics cosmetology industry. So yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did. I hope you learned a lot. I learned so much. It was actually like, writing this episode was so inspiring. Like, I felt like so empowered just by hearing like these 4 women's stories and putting it together and kind of like, you know, just seeing it, and it just made me feel so like inspired. Like, if they can do it, obviously, I mean, I'm doing it, but it was just really inspiring. Like, and sometimes, like I said, when we talked about previously, like with limiting beliefs, it's so easy to get in your head in business, and you know, sometimes you doubt yourself, but like to see other women pave the way for you like that, it just make you feel like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. I can keep on keeping on. Like, this is super duper dope. So yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Remember the positive affirmation of the week: I am who I want to be. You are. You're not lying to yourself. You are that girl. You are that girl. I hope you have an amazing day, guys. I will see you in the next episode. Bye.